Hi, dear friends. Welcome again for the session of International Human Resource Management. I hope that all of you are feeling fine and healthy and saved from the pandemic COVID-19. Today, we are here to talk about the International Human Resource, another portion, another topic, that is introduction to family adjustment. As we discussed in our previous session of International Human Resource Management, we spoke some things about the family adjustment, culture adjustment, economical and political situations. Based on that, the multinational companies are adjusting or adapting different approach. We spoke some things about the different approaches of the international human resource recruitment. So today we will be talking some things in details, that what is the usage and how the family adjustment is needed under the international human resource management. So an organization became globalized. There is an increasing challenges to use expatriate on the international assignment to complete the strategically critical task. This has been forwarded or given by the different scientists or authors like Brewster and Downis and Thomas. So basically, exactly, once we talk about the family adjustments at the international scenario, it is not something easy, because due to the changes in the global level, due to the changes in the cultures, due to the changes in the technology, these all things affects that an organization may not be easily following or using the human resources toward the international assignments. It's not something an easy task. In order to complete the international assignment, we do require some of the family adjustment with respect to the changes what happen in the world, right? So this is very important and that must be considerable. It is not something easy task in order to adjust with the global scenario of international assignment. So that must be studied well and that must be considered. So changes in the world or in the business world lead that the way of expatriating, excuse me, one labor from one place to another place. So multinational companies or corporations, as it is indicated as MNCs, use expatriate not only for corporate control and expertise reasons in vital global market, but also to facilitate entries into a new market or to develop international management competencies. Exactly, the intentions or the reason behind expatriating the labor is not only that to have a control or to have a great planning toward the corporations, but it is also done because that to get inside the new market, because today each and every companies at the international levels are trying to operate at the different geographical locations. They are trying to get inside to the new markets at the different geographical locations and develop their management or planning, organizing, controlling at the international level. So let's talk some things about the Apple, Samsung's, Google, Facebook's, or other larger companies. They are trying to develop their relations. They are trying to develop their management process at the international level, not only national level. They are trying to get into the different markets. So that is also the another intentions. So while it is recognized in human resource management's problems are more complex in the international environment, exactly, there are more critical scenario once we talk about the international environment of the HRM. So there is also increased evidence to suggest that the management of the international human resources increasingly being acknowledged as a major determinants of the success or failure in the international business. So this is day by day, with respect to the time, this concept is going to be more complex and more considerable by the business organizations. For example, today if someone is going to start within a business, a small business, with the passage of time he or she is trying to develop that one at the international level. So this is very important. Hence we can say that that to avoid the crisis in the expatriate management is their fault. The first challenges for the international human resource planning effectively for the selection of the expatriate over the overseas assignments. So planning is initially required. There should be a systematic and proper planning toward expatriating the employees from one place to another place. The second return of the expatriate has to be attended, and the subsequent jobs assignment for the returned expatriate in their home country in is a very or is a priority to the right toward the managerial attention. So for the purpose of having systematic and better management related or relevant to the expatriate, that planning is very important. There is another explanation, so you can go through that one. Has been given by the different scientists, but the important thing is that Ekman says that there are three phases or pause for the process of crisis management relevant to the expatriate. So the first pause is that uh, preparedness. The first thing is that business or MNC must be prepared, which is the period of the preparing plans and procedure for addressing the crisis. In order to manage the crisis, all right, in the term of expatriate, you can say, or in the term of MNCs. So the first thing is that to be prepared. Preparedness in the term of planning, procedures, strategies, and other things must be prepared. The second thing is that responsiveness. It is the actual dealing, or it is the implementation of that plans and procedures to be effective in order to deal with the crisis. The second stage is that responsiveness. The third thing is that recovery, during which the organization returns to normal operation as quickly as possible. Exactly when there is some crisis, all right, if you talk about the expatriate, if there is any crisis, in order to manage that crisis, making the organization to come to the normal level is also one of the initial phase or pause of the crisis management. So preparedness, responsiveness, and recovery is the three pauses toward managing the crisis within the multinational corporation. So these three pauses are considered as a subsequent phenomena in the continuous cycle too. So that the recovery phase, which follows the responsiveness phase, also preceded the preparedness pause. Exactly, they are interconnected to each other, and they are making the organization to be normal if we start from the preparedness and end with the recovery. So here they have given the more explanations over here that you can overlook on it, but the corporate HRM policies and practices might facilitate better management of the expatriate crisis, as I said before. To having the corporate human resource management, better management systems, better management facilities, better management, so mix that the crisis of the expatriates must be managed. So that is known as managing expatriate crisis. So a process through which we do have, or which we do follow policies and practices that make the management to be better, that is known as managing expatriate crisis. So there is another portion that we say that failed assignment due to the premature return of the expatriate. Let's speak some things better or more about this. Why the international assignments are going to be failed. The one reason is that due to the premature return of the expatriate. Let's see that what do you mean by premature return of the expatriate. As we discussed in our previous class, that prominent concern in the international recruitment and selection literature is that expatriate failure, as the given by this person and this scientist, the expatriate failure becomes an international crisis for the MNCs. Exactly. So several studies have identified the reason behind the failure. So for instance, premature return of expatriate and the lack of cross-cultural adjustments by expatriates, their spouse or family, or some identified features. So these we discussed in our previous class also. There are some reasons behind that, why the premature return of the expatriate happened, which is very significant point or reason behind that some of the MNCs companies are going to be in a crisis. The Once we talk about the planning, so the nature of the planning in the term of expatriate selection is very important. The preparedness is very important. Each and every business organization must be having some policies and practices toward managing the crisis. So for this purpose, we require planning. Let's say what do we have under the planning, particularly in the term of expatriate selections. Within the abundant research on the expatriate managers, certain selections characteristics or traits have been identified as predictor of the expatriate success. So these include technical ability, managerial ability. This research study has been suggested some of the abilities that makes the expatriates to be successful, not fail. So for this we required planning. Under the planning toward what? Planning toward the technical ability, managerial abilities, cultural empathy, adaptability, diplomacy, language ability, positive attitude, emotional abilities, maturity and adaptability of the families. So these all portions must be planned in order to be successful toward the expatriate success, in order to avoid from the failed assignment. So these things must be considerable. One of the earliest reports was provided by the this Tang, who is examined experience selections practices across the 80 US MNCs. This research has been done toward the 80 companies, 80 MNCs companies, and subsequently identify 4 general categories which may contribute to the expatriate success. So as per this research or as per this study, there are 4 general categories which makes the expatriates to be successful. Let's find it out what are those 4 categories. The broadly 4 categories is, the first thing is technical competencies on the job. As I said in our previous classes that technical skills and technical competencies are very important, so that the MNCs are always for looking for that one, for that applicant. The second thing is personality traits or relational abilities. That is also important, that an employee, how much he has the making relationship abilities skills to judge her or herself with the community or society, right? The personality is also one of the important environmental variables and family situations. As per the study, they have concluded that there will be 4 general categories that makes the expatriate to be successful. The first thing is technical competencies, personalities, environmental variables, and family situations. These 4 elements are very important. So this is the further supported Renan's 1989 model that incorporates the dimensions of expatriate success. Identify the following 5 categories. This is the another scientist who believes that there are 5 categories. The first thing is that job factors, relational dimensions, motivational states, family situations, and language skills. So he is adding one more, that by the name of language skills. Exactly, language is very important. Some of the applicants must be having international languages also. They must be well known with the international languages, which makes the expatriates to be successful. Yeah, we are here to conclude. Thank you so much from your kind attention.